Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. It's sort of ironic. I'm running a couple minutes behind given my topic today. Sometimes I follow my own advice and sometimes I forget. And I think we all do slip back into habits that were, I'll call them bad habits, but habits that we had used for good or not so healthy reasons. And then we want to change our habits. And then we slip right back into some old habits that are really no longer serving me. But uh, you know, it's almost like there's a muscle memory and an emotional memory that's like, oh no, this is the way we do these things. And so this will all make sense when I start talking about our topic today. But welcome everyone to Career Alchemy. We are the live broadcast that comes to you every Wednesday, almost every Wednesday, unless I'm out presenting on a panel or attending a networking event or whatever I might be doing. But generally, 1 o'clock Central Time, here I am and bringing you thoughts and musings around career and life and being differently ambitious. And so today's topic really, as I'm, writing the blogs every week that eventually my newsletter that eventually becomes what I talk about here on LinkedIn Live. And I'm thinking about not only that this is going to be sent out to my list of people and we'll also be posting it out on LinkedIn, but I think about when I'm here with you all who are watching live or are watching the recording of this, and I'm thinking about how what I'm saying, that I'm hopeful that there might be a little nugget in there that has you thinking differently about your career and life, and has you creating uh, deliberately, in this case, this particular conversation, more spaciousness in all areas. And so that's what this is about. The title of today's conversation is How Career Hustle Can Hurt Your Pocketbook. So what was happening for me was and this is not recent, it's been sort of coming and going. Um, Similar to what I was saying about habits, it's like, oh, I remember that this is what I'm craving, and then I forget because I fall back into old habits, and then I remember again. But this desire, strong desire for more peace in my day, more calm, and it could be a factor of what's happening out in the world. It could be a factor of just where I'm at in my life. And it just could be a factor of spiritual evolution, of how I'm evolving, personally evolving, spiritually evolving, that is causing me to yearn for more calm, more peace, more space in my day, like less hustle, less tightly scheduled days. And like I said, this is something that's been going on for a while. Like it'll be, maybe after heavily scheduled periods of time where I can barely breathe, right? Like feel overscheduled, overcommitted, over hustling, and starting to feel that burnout or exhaustion or, whatever. It's been coming and going, but this was something that, again, that desire had been really coming in strong for me, something that I wanted in my life and my calendar for sure. And so, but the problem was I'd fallen back into the old habits, sort of that scarcity mindset, the belief that, because I'm building a business, right? I'm building my third business, and one of my goals this year is to sort of crack the riddle, the puzzle of how do I move from what's been so magnificently built so far, and all of the work that's been done by myself and my team to create an experience, technology experience, meaning just getting emails out to everyone on the right times. And for those inside of Career Alchemy Academy, we have a dashboard and building that out, making that a place where people can find what they're looking for easily. Like a lot of focus has been going on kind of the behind the scenes stuff, as I've also been front of the house doing webinar. We're in using creativity webinar workshop right now and going out and doing networking, and all of these things are happening. But one of the things that I feel ready for is a steady stream of people joining Career Alchemy Academy. I am very, very clear that there was an energy of kind of, I wouldn't say a stop sign, but maybe I don't know, a yield sign. I don't even know if that's the right thing, but it's sort of like I think about movies and how sometimes movies they do the limited release and then they go wide. And I was in the limited release phase. Like I definitely wanted people to join, but I wasn't in the same energy as I am now. I was sort of okay with how the flow was, the occasional people joining, and I was okay with that. And now I'm ready and I'm feeling this, okay, now we can just really open up the floodgates. I think the back end is ready. We are next week celebrating 1 year of Career Alchemy Academy. Hoot, hoot. And actually 1 week from today. So all of this past year has been me getting better and better at coaching inside of a community versus one-on-one, and all of those things. So all to say that as I started to feel more ready over the last few months to really go from limited to going wide, I noticed that my scarcity mindset was stepping back in. Old habits that had served me back in when I built my last company had served me well. But I'm a different person now, right? Um, I'm more efficient, more effective. I have more know-how. I have more connections. I have, I have a team, things that I didn't have before that I would say in a lot of ways were, I was just learning so much that were causing me to really hustle to build that last company. What I know is that I don't need to hustle in the same way that I did then because of all those reasons that I just mentioned, except I forgot and I was over hustling again. And I had this belief that in order for me to attract all these new people that I wanted to bring in and to build a consistent stream of income, that I needed to get out there and I needed to hustle, 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 make hay while the sun shines, right? Um, I've said that in the past, when I'm training salespeople and stuff like, hey, the economy's great right now. Let's go make hay when while the sun shines. And there's some truth to that, but you can actually, this is what I've learned. This is the spiritual um, uh, evolution, kind of I guess the growth that I've had is that that it doesn't have to be like that, that you can build a career that is filled with spaciousness, filled with peace, filled with calm, um, without the over hustle and all of the mind chatter that might be going on when you're living in, I call it scarcity. It's like its own little town, right? Scar City. And versus authenticity, a whole nother town where we want to be. How do we authentically, when we're living in authenticity, authentic city, whatever. When we're living there, how would we live when we were living from our authentic selves? And trust me, I know the pace would be different. Um, you'd be connecting more deeply with people. You wouldn't be. I had a friend say to me today, there's sort of this difference between like being in the real life versus the layered life. And what she was talking about is just being fully present, fully aware of and in tune to not only your own true nature and your own, what your body is suggesting, the intuition is in the real life, in the authentic life, you are fully attuned to what authentically is you, and also to those outside of you, your pets and the people that are in your life. But when you're in the layered, more hustle, um, mentality, we can miss cues, right? And we can not only our own body cues that are saying you need to slow down and take a nap, but also cues from people around us who may be needing us right now, right? But we're so looking ahead that we're not fully in tune and living in authenticity, but we're in scarcity. So this desire, strong desire for creating more space in my day and my calendar, and living in a sense of trust that what I need will be provided, that the flow of people joining Career Alchemy Academy are exactly at the right pace they're supposed to be, that you know just the general feeling of peace as I wake up, as I go through my day. And so what happened was I came across, just weirdly saw someone mention a book called Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. Is that his name? Cal Newport. Yes. And so I thought I'm going to bring this on vacation with me and read what in the heck is he talking about. And so what is slow productivity? And he tells a story in there about Carlo Petrini. So here's the story. McDonald's was coming in and wanting to build it at the foot of the Spanish Steps, right? This cultural kind of uh, structure. The people, you think about the Spanish Steps, like people know the Spanish Steps, like lots of people have thought about being there and climbing the Spanish Steps, and they're in movies and all these things. So McDonald's wanted to open up there, and Carlo Petrini was appalled. And he said, that he thought McDonald's, basically being a fast food restaurant, was really about a fast life, and that a fast life was counter to the tradition, the age-old tradition of Italy. And specifically, one of the areas is around how Italians treat meals. And so Carlo Petrini started the slow food movement that was in protest to the fast life, right? And it was really about communal meals. And, again, this sort of Italian vibe of, like I can really see, I've been to Italy, and I remember vividly that my mom and my sister and I, when we were in Italy, we first of all, the meals happen later than they do here in the US, like, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. We'd go out, we'd eat, we'd be done just like us Americans do. We'd just order our food, we eat our food, we'd, pay the bill when we go back to wherever we were going, the hotel. And I remember vividly seeing this group of people at this one restaurant, kind of a outdoor patio. And then we did our whole meal. We came back, and it was like they were just getting served these appetizers. And I'm like looking at my watch thinking, like, do they know what time it is? And what are they talking about? But that's like the Italian way. And even European in some, it's not maybe just Italy, but it definitely comes to mind for Spain and Italy for me. And so Carlo Petrini recognized this and really wanted to bring in this slow food movement and emphasize communal meals and leisurely pace and locally grown foods and sustainability practices. Like, he started this movement that now is in I mean, it took off. People embraced it. So that says something, right? It says this is not just me craving this, but this is, I think it's in 100. It was a movement that has now spread and has, um, I guess, organizations um, that are promoting and living the slow food movement um, in 160 countries globally. So this is not, this is people want this. We all want to slow the pace down. We all are craving um, more connection. And, like that communal meal, it really speaks to me, that connection, that sort of communish, commune. Um, and, and the just sitting around and enjoying each other and enjoying the food and tasting the food. There's a sense of mindfulness to a the slow food movement. And in fact, it's spawned other slow movements like um, uh, I think it's just called slow movement, which is about mindfulness and its quality over quantity. And so this slow movement kind of philosophy, or there's a nonprofit I think that's organized involved in it. There's also another nonprofit, Slow Money, and there's like Sit Slow, which CITTA slow, which I think also came out of the slow food movement, and it's inside of it started inside of Italy as well. But think about that. It's about slow cities. Like, what would it mean? It wouldn't just be the leisurely meals, but it would be, less, um, again, less assembly line, um, you know, productivity valued ways of living. So this really, really, when I read what Carlo Petrini had started, I was all in, because it really is about honoring meaning and tradition and presence and uh, connection and a different pace. And so that, that's what I was craving, slow. And this struck a chord. And it made me think about Career Alchemy Academy and capacity, and how we talk about this idea of in increasing your capacity to be with all of the things, to be when things fall apart, that you have the emotional capacity to be with that. When things are um, when there's ease, that you don't try to rush through the slower pace. You don't feel, you start to build your capacity to be with a slower pace, right? To be with the celebration of the joyful moments and the slower moments. And so how we can build that capacity, I always do this, like how we can build that capacity. And and it had me thinking about that and realizing that somewhere along the way I had confused emotional capacity with time capacity. And that's old Lori thinking. That's hustle, uh, culture thinking, that instead of expanding my emotional capacity to believe that the flow of things, the connections, the people, the money, that whole thing happens naturally, and me forcing it just causes my burnout, and may actually slow down the other things. So I'd forgotten this lesson, I guess. And I was very much focused on how much more can I put in my calendar? How many more networking events can I go to? What other things can I say yes to, in the thought that the more I do that, the more money that will be coming in way of new clients. And so it was very much tied to income. And so more calls, more events, more doing, right? And I remember saying to myself, looking at my calendar and going, Lori, is this really your capacity or do you got more in you? Can you put, like, I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm not at capacity yet. Let's schedule another event. Let's, make another, say yes to another thing. And so again, you can see how skewed my mind and so far away from slow career, slow business building, that I really want to embrace. And now that's the first time I've said that, but that's what I'm embracing is the slow career. And I don't know what that looks like fully, but I can tell you what it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like an over tightly scheduled calendar. It doesn't look like boundaries being pushed. It doesn't look like any of that. And I welcome your suggestions on what a slow career might feel like and look like to you. Like what would be different if you were in the slow career? And so, and that doesn't, let's keep in mind that that doesn't mean that you're not getting advanced at the pace that you want to get advanced at. It isn't like, oh, if I start to embrace this idea of a slow career, that means that I'm going to be not advancing as quickly, which means I'm not going to be making as much money as quickly, and I'm not going to get into leadership as. Let's just say that that's not the truth. That's our productivity mind and wanting to plant those sorts of thoughts, fearful thoughts. But in fact, in a slow career, everything happens at exactly the right pace and is exactly how you are meant to be living and working. And I can tell you in a slow career, I do know this, there will be impulses to do a lot, uh, and you're going to feel great doing it. And then we're tuning into and oh, okay, now's the time where I just take a break, a little mini vacation, and being able to be very aware of when we pick up the pace and when we slow down the pace, instead of just like I was just picking up the pace and thinking that was the way to do it. And then what I noticed is that, now I'm living in, it's not quite a city, crazy town of hustle, right? But it's definitely Scar City. Crazy town is inside of Scar City. And I'm in there and I noticed something that my income month over month had started to drop. And I'm like, how is this possible? I'm doing all the things, right? But the revenue was not responding to my over hustle scarcity fast career activities. And when I saw that this was dropping, my first thought, of course, because I'm in scarcity at this point, scarcity, but it feels like a scar, like a wound. I'm in scarcity, is I'm like, oh, okay, what am I doing wrong here? I need to do more. I need to push harder. Like that was my first thought. I must be missing something, right? Because the income isn't going up, the new clients aren't coming. But the harder I worked, the tighter everything felt for me. The more exhausted I felt, my creativity was drying up, opportunities were not as frequent, and the money faucet, reality, the truth, the facts was trickling. And then it clicked. I started put together sort of this. I'd read this book and it clicked while I was, really taking in Carlo Petrini's slow food movement and allowing, because I felt so connected to that. I'm like, yes, that's what I crave. That's what I'm talking about. So as I'm taking that in and I'm thinking about, because I'm on vacation, right? So I'm thinking about everything that I've been doing, since January of this year, 2025, and how I've been, starting to amp up the hustle and the trickle, the money starting to slow down instead of speed up as I expected. I realized that, and this is the big aha moment for me, and I want to share it with you because I I don't know, I'm hoping it could be a big aha connection for you, is that money isn't is one of the ways that the universe communicates with us. So we talk about I've talked about the money, the energy of money before. There's lots of books, The Soul of Money, The Energy of Money, you know, just if you looked at my Kindle and all the books I have about that people have written about money, it's going to be um, from a category perspective, probably one near death experiences, huge, spiritual growth and spiritual stories and things, a big category, money, a big category, and then fun fiction and literature, but I would say, between near death experiences and spiritual stories and all the books that have been written about money, those would be the big categories inside my Kindle, which shows you where I'm what's interesting to me or what I'm working on and what I'm trying to understand more. And I've been really understanding this idea that money it's not the way we've been thinking about it, and that in fact, it's like a job search. There's so much, like if you've been in debt, there's so much spiritual um, magic in that, and a job search too. All the things start coming up, as far as the criticisms or the blaming of yourself or the hustle of a job search. One of my clients was just talking about how she's thinking differently, how she first started thinking when she was part of a layoff, and how she was acting and thinking about her job search, and how she's completely shifted to, trusting the process and building relationships, and is out of the scarcity. She's moved out of scarcity and I've got to, go to all the networking events, and I've got to apply to every job, and I've got to make sure, oh my gosh, I only did 2 hours today. Let's do 2 more on my job search, and that feeling. And she has also shifted, and job searches, and then money, and how much, because money is, I mean, there is so much fodder, some interesting things about money. And so um, I realized that money was communicating to me. It was trying to communicate to me by the trickle. It was when I overfill my calendar, the universe wasn't rewarding me for being productive, right? It wasn't rewarding me for that, but it actually was protecting me from burnout by slowing down the income, because that will get my attention, right? And it's like, okay, we're going to use money because she is not paying attention to the fact that she's not having as much fun as she was last year. She's not, I'm having a good time, trust me, but there are certainly lots of weekends where I'm just like, oh, all I want to do is put my feet up, and then I'm like, no, get up and do that, which I wouldn't have done in the past when I was in authenticity and not in scarcity. And so, money was protecting me from the burnout by slowing down the flow. And it wasn't to punish me, but like I said, it was to get my attention. And it wasn't saying, this isn't an either or thing. It isn't that you're either hustling or you're giving up or stop serving or not creating something, new programs and things. It isn't an either or thing. It is more of a, hey, um, it's time to do less. It's time to trust the intuition to lead you. It's time to put your trust back in your inner guidance system, that your somatic guidance system, your spiritual guidance system, instead of outside hustle, fill the calendar up, which hasn't been working, obviously. So it was like money was saying to me, Lori, slow down so we can, bring you the ideas, bring you more joy, bring you the aligned clients. Just slow down, slow career. And so, message received. as soon as I got back from vacation. And what's been happening for me, and I don't know if people are noticing, I'm noticing what's happening with my energy, but I started clearing out my calendar. I started saying, bringing back in the boundaries and really checking in with myself before I said yes to something. In fact, today, after this call, I'm going to be emailing someone. I've been, it was a great invitation that happened yesterday. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, this sounds great. Let me get back to you by Friday. And I'm not even going to wait till Friday. I know I cannot say yes to this invitation right now. That as much as it's interesting and exciting, the short time frame would require me to completely over hustle the next 3 weeks. And so I'm going to say, hey, if you do this next year, give me some notice so I have more time. And, I want to participate, and I'm going to share the event out on my social and happy to support that way, but I'm not going to actively be part of this. And that all came out of like, what would the person who has a slow career that's allowing the universe to support her success, my success, and my pocketbook, what would they do right now? They would be saying no to that. The other things are really focusing on what really matters to me, blocking out time for my spiritual practices. I had been I'd been shortening up my meditations and my walk, lots of things. And so, no, expanding that again, prioritizing my self-care, of course, honoring the downtime as being exactly the productivity I need, right? While you're creating and living this slow career, your life continues to move forward, and supporting, what your form of service, the work you're meant to be doing, this slow career will be supported. You kind of just have to test it out until you can start to believe it and start seeing what I'm seeing, as in the trickle has moved to a flow, a slow flow, but it's more than a trickle. From the pocketbook side, I'm also following how I feel, like really tuning into that, and always has worked for me is when I make choices that are based on fun. And so making sure that everything feels like fun that I'm getting myself involved in, and then releasing anything or anyone that's creating any anxiety for me. Hold on. Ooh, this is a longer one today. As I feel like it's so important to look at, I mentioned the job search, but also look at money as actually being your teacher. And when things are not going the way you want with money, seeing the lessons in there, and again, shifting how you're approaching your slow career. So I'm over hustling, and living in scarcity. I have moved back into authenticity. It took me a while to see it. I will say it took me a while, several months, really. It kind of went in and out. But when I look, it's been kind of a pattern this year, an old pattern, and the old habit, but I'm breaking it. And I'm going to keep this particular blog that I wrote, as something that I read on the regular to remind myself that money is a tool the universe uses, and job searches are the tool that universe uses in order to help us um, create a more spacious life. So sometimes money slows down to protect you from burnout, and sometimes it speeds up to confirm and encourage you in that alignment, that you have moved into authenticity and you are fully back aligned with your true nature career, and which is a slow career. So think this week about what's happening with you and your relationship with money, as far as, is money pulling back because you're saying yes to too many things? Or is money trying to nudge you towards something more meaningful? Is money delivering a message to be more mindful and to have this slow career, with regards to how you're spending your energy and time? Money is never about money. That's the thing. It's feedback, it's guidance, it's communication, it's it points you to your true north. So what is money trying to communicate with you right now? That's the question. And what does it take for you to build a slow career with me? Let's start the slow career movement. Let's do it. I should call Carlo Petrini and just say, what would you tell me about slow career movement? Um, okay, I'm super excited about that. So following the fun of that and also checking in with myself and saying, is it time to start the slow career movement, Lori? And just even saying that out loud, it's not it's happening already, but I don't need to um you know start to build the movement quite yet. Like, let's just trust the movement is happening just because we're talking about it today. And then let's see how it wants to form. Let's allow the universe to put structure to it. I don't have to do all of that. But the slow career movement has started. I am all in to um, prosperity and authenticity and trusting what wants to happen, trusting what's meant to happen, allowing a slower pace, a more spacious pace to our days, taking things off the calendar, uh, and creating the slow career that works for us. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening and tuning in. Please tell me how money's been communicating with you and how you are now are starting to move out of scarcity into authenticity, and what does that mean for your slow career? I really want to hear about this because you're part of the movement with me. So let's go. Always peace, love, and slow career. Talk to you soon.